Straight ahead on Falcon Weekly.
It's time to pick your classes for May, summer and fall. Find out when registration opens up for undergraduates.
Plus, casting your vote. Online polls are open for students to elect new SGA officers and college night leaders. We'll tell you how to navigate the online voting process.
And rough road ahead. GM is expanding its ignition switch recall, and now a new recall has put the brakes on sales of one of the Chevy's most popular models. We'll tell you which ones are affected. Falcon Weekly starts now. Hello and welcome to Falcon Weekly. I'm Tom Davis.
And I'm Sloan Gibby. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you had a fun and relaxing spring break. It's that time of the semester. Registration starts this week for May, summer, and fall classes. Don't forget to make an appointment with your advisor before your registration date and be sure to have an idea of what you need to take. Registration for graduate students is open now. Seniors will be able to register this Wednesday, April 2nd. Juniors on Friday, April 4th. Sophomores can start registering Tuesday, April 8th, and freshmen will be able to sign up for classes Thursday, April 10th. Registration opens each day at 8 a.m.
Voting is open for SGA and college night elections. Online voting is open until Wednesday at 3 p.m. Let your voice be heard by visiting orgsync.com and entering your forum username and password into the login. Then move your mouse over to Organizations tab at the top to see the links to vote for SGA and college night leaders. You can check out your forum email for more information about online voting. UM's Greek life is all buzz this week, from relay races to the big event. Sororities and fraternities are getting ready to come together and help give back to the community.
Falcon Weekly's Chloe Allen joins us in the newsroom with more about Greek Week. Chloe?
Thanks, guys. Today kicks off the first day of Greek Week. This is an opportunity for sororities and fraternities to not only help give back to the community, but to become closer to their fellow Greeks. I caught up with Kara Krieger, a Delta Gamma, who told me what Greek Week can offer the university as a whole.
It's a week full of events for Greek life, and it promotes unity among fraternities and sororities, and it just encourages us to get to know each other. And I know today's the relay race we have a relay race, and it's also the banner reveal, and then we're going to have like a dessert contest, so we have to cook different recipes, who has the best dessert, I guess. And then we have a talent show, we have a volleyball tournament, and then everything leads up to the big event. And after the big event, we have our awards. We have our awards. So we have like a Greek Woman of the Year, Greek Male of the Year, and all that, and just who wins Greek Week.
Kara also says that non-Greek students can get involved with this week's activities by coming and watching the events. This is a good way to help recruit prospective members. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Chloe Allen. Back to you.
A year after his first historic victory, trivia champion Dr. Michael Patton returned to defend his status as quiz master in the second annual fundraiser, Dr. Patton versus the World. Falcon Weekly's John Allergy shows us how this year's competition came down to the wire.
The Montevallo Honors Organization brought us the second edition of Dr. Patton versus the World to Farmer Hall Tuesday, March 18th. Dr. Patton's Brawl is an MHO fundraiser event in which students and teachers alike form teams to attempt to best the philosophy professor's master knowledge of all things quizzical.
One of the honors organization students last semester came and asked if I would do some sort of trivia thing, a team trivia thing, and be on a team. And I said, why don't I just take on the entire world, because I'm super obnoxious. And that turned into the thing they wanted to do. So I thought it was kind of fun that I could maybe bring people out by taunting them and stuff like that.
With only a $3 donation and the promise of prizes, the team set off through trivia categories ranging from executed monarchs to urban dictionary definitions.
The questions are come up by whoever wants to come up with the questions, as long as the president and Dr. Martin, our advisor, has the final say on what goes in. Pretty much anything is fair game.
The contest consisted of 10 timed rounds in which participants wrote down the answers on a card, which were then tallied by the judges. Dr. Patton had his doubts about the first round.
I'm virtually certain I've gotten fewer than half the possible points so far, so I'm pretty worried.
But despite his misgivings, he came out on top after the first half. By the end of the second half, there was a three-way tie for first, so the judges opted to ask a tiebreaker question.
Men's basketball team. Who do they play tonight?
And by the skin of his teeth, Dr. Michael Patton retained his title as the King of Trivia. Reporting for Falcon Weekly, I'm John Albee.
To see more about Dr. Patton's trivia win, just go to the Falcon News Network blog. The web address is on your screen.
An organization of women from the university and the community held a fashion show the week before spring break aimed at bettering education. Falcon Weekly's Heather Buckner takes us down the catwalk.
The American Association of University Women hosted a fashion show on Thursday to raise money for women's scholarships and adult literacy. According to AAUW co-president Sandra Lott, the event, Springtime Celebration, has been held annually for 20 years. This year, the goal was to raise $4,000.
To help young people to have all the educational opportunities that are possible for them.
Women from the community and university modeled belt clothing for an audience of about 150, while university professor Ed Robertson provided live music. In addition to a catwalk, this year the John Stewart Student Retreat Center contained a silent auction as well, featuring arts, crafts, potted plants, and books.
I don't think I ever looked this good in shorts.
The array of fashion models is what most guests cited as their favorite part of the show. Participants ranged from students to dogs to grandmothers and granddaughters. Reese Payne, the show's youngest model, said she got to pick out the outfit she wore. They let her keep her favorite one.
My favorite color is pink. That's why I like it so much.
Her grandmother, Tracy Payne Rocco, participated because she supports the work AAUW does with young women.
I know that some of the students that I know that have come and been a part of the AAUW as student affiliates have had great opportunities to go to conferences and come to their meetings, and I think the mentoring aspect is very important.
Reese thought she could sum up the day pretty well.
It was fun, and it was fantastic.
Reporting for Falcon Weekly, I'm Heather Buckner.
You're welcome.
If you'd like more information about the American Association of University Women, we've placed a link on our blog. Just go to umfalconnewsnetwork.blogspot.com.
Many local gardeners are looking to use their green thumbs now that spring is here, and there are just a few more days to sign up for a plot in UM's community garden. Located behind the baseball field, each plot costs $10 for 8 months of growing. Each plot is 10 feet by 12 feet and features space around all sides of your plot, with organic fertilizer already added. Become part of a community garden that has incredibly donated 2,600 pounds of vegetables grown in the garden's donation plot to Shelby Emergency Assistance since June 2011. Email Dr. Jill Wicknick to rent a plot. Payment for the plot is due this Thursday.
Get your work gloves ready. The big event is this Saturday, April 5th. SGA sponsors the big event annually as a way to give back to the community. As you can see in this file video from last year's event, clubs, teams, and organizations on the university's campus volunteer to help different businesses, residents, schools, and organizations in need. Students will be assigned many different tasks such as weeding, trimming, raking, planting, painting, and more. The event will begin at 8 a.m. at the Kermit A. Johnson Field and will last until about noon. It will go on, rain or shine.
GM is expanding its recall list to include more cars with bad ignition switches. Coming up, find out which models have now been added to the list.
And all shook up. LA is rattled by powerful earthquakes and more than 100 aftershocks over the weekend. Hear why experts say this may not be a sign that stronger earthquakes are in store for the West Coast. Those stories and more when we return. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. Potential leads on the missing Malaysia airline flight 370 keep coming. So do the setbacks and frustrations. Monday's search ended without finding anything significant.
4 orange objects spotted by search aircraft turned out to be old fishing gear. US Navy officials loaded underwater locating gear aboard an Australian naval support vessel and set out to sea Monday evening. The gear includes a Pinger locator. It scans for the sound of the locator beacon attached to the plane's flight data recorder. The pingers can be heard 2 nautical miles away, but high seas, background noise and wreckage can make pingers harder to detect. 10 aircraft and 11 ships scouted more than 98,000 square miles of ocean looking for the missing plane.
Tensions are high on the Korean peninsula as North and South Korea traded artillery fire across their disputed sea border. Northern forces are holding live-fire military exercises in the area, and some shells fell in waters claimed by South Korea. South Korea responded by firing shells into North Korean waters. A day earlier, North Korea released a statement saying it did not rule out more tests of nuclear weapons. The White House says North Korea's actions are dangerous and provocative.
California officials are assessing the damage from not one, but two major earthquakes and more than 100 aftershocks that rocked Los Angeles over the weekend. A 5.1 magnitude quake struck Friday, followed the next day by a 4.1 trembler. Now experts say the quake should be a wake-up call that a period of recent calm could be coming to an end. Reporter Stephanie Allen gives us a look at the aftermath.
Everything's fallen over, there's cracks inside of our building, the floor is separated from the walls.
In case Southern Californians forgot, this is earthquake country.
Being that it was a jolt, it's a little more scary.
Mother Nature provided the reminder over the weekend. A 5.1 magnitude quake that struck in Orange County on Friday, followed by more than 100 aftershocks. Many of them so small, most people didn't even feel them. Still, a lot of activity where it's been unusually dormant.
This was way beyond anything I had ever experienced.
Take a look at these pictures from Friday's initial quake. Bottles toppling off store shelves, brick walls falling apart, and a rock slide that left this car on its roof.
We're just going to double check everything. We want to make sure that it's safe for you guys to occupy.
Following the shaker, 20 apartments in La Habra, south of Los Angeles, were initially red tagged and then cleared. But 6 homes were deemed structurally unstable, displacing a couple dozen people.
It's going to be a lot more cleanup, and I'm worried that there's going to be more aftershocks coming.
And on Saturday, a 4.1 aftershock. In fact, even while scientists were in the middle of an earthquake briefing,
we're having an aftershock now, about 2.7.
Aftershocks continued to erupt.
The last 20 years is one of the quietest periods we've ever had in LA history. Obviously, that's not true of 2014, which just might mean that we're getting back to the more normal rate.
Or could it mean the big one is on the way?
We have never found worldwide a pattern of building up and then you get the really big earthquake. That's not the way earthquakes look like. Most of them are random.
And a not so gentle reminder for Californians to get prepared.
Today is the last day to sign up for health insurance coverage under the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Most Americans who are not covered either by private insurance or an ACA account face a tax penalty if they miss tonight's midnight deadline. Officials say if you get hung up with technical problems, don't worry. Anyone who starts an application by today but is unable to finish will get extra time. The government says 6 million Americans have signed up since last October's rocky rollout of the healthcare.gov website.
The recall woes aren't over for General Motors. The automaker added another 824,000 cars to its ignition switch recall. The recall previously included 1.4 million GM cars sold in the United States that were made through model year 2007. GM is now expanding that to include all model years of the affected vehicles, including those between 2008 and 2011. GM says that's because some of the newer versions of the cars may have had their good switches replaced with faulty ones during repairs. The cars affected include the Chevrolet Cobalt and the HHR, the Pontiac G5 and Selfies, and the Saturn Ion and Sky. GM expands the recall to include the Chevy Cruze cars from 2013 and 2014 model years. The recall of Chevy Cruze cars alone added 172,000 cars to the GM's overall recall, resulting in 2.53 million cars in total. The problem in the Chevy Cruze is an axle shaft in the car that could possibly fracture and separate with no warning. When this happens, the brakes and steering continue working while the car's power to the wheels is lost. Although this has been a problem for many cars, there have been no reported injuries. GM CEO Mary Barra is scheduled to testify in Congress tomorrow and Wednesday to explain the expanded recall.
Turning to news from Alabama, a judge is set to hold a trial on Alabama abortion law. The federal judge says he will hold the trial in order to address Alabama's new law requiring abortion clinic doctors to have approval to admit patients to nearby hospitals. U.S. District Judge Myron Thompson announced that the trial will only cover one issue, whether the law violates the due process rights of women seeking abortion. The Alabama legislature passed the law in 2013, and 3 of the 5 abortion clinics located in Alabama say the law would force them to close their doors if it was enforced.
Auburn University is starting construction on revitalizing Toomer's Corner. Work begins this week on the site where fans traditionally gather to celebrate big sporting victories. This is a rendering of what the redesigned area will look like. The redevelopment comes after University of Alabama fan poisoned the landmark oaks that used to stand there. The first phase of the renovation includes installing new pavers, building a circular wall with seating, and replacing the soil. Those projects are supposed to be finished next fall. New trees will be planted early next year. It's been almost 6 years since Michael Jackson died, but you'll soon be able to hear new music from the king of pop. Coming up, find out when you'll be able to hear his new album.
And are you surprised by the way you look when you take a selfie? Find out the science behind selfie shockers and what UM students think about them when we come back.
Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. The king of pop is back.
A Michael Jackson new album will be released in May. The album is called The Escape and comes out May 13th. It will feature modern takes on Michael Jackson's songs and will also include 8 previously unheard tracks. Epic Records CEO L.A. Reid was given access to 4 decades of the late singer's vocal material and curated the track list. Timbaland was the lead producer with contributions from other hitmakers like Rodney Jerkins. You can pre-order the album on iTunes starting Tuesday, April 1st.
Chelsea Handler calls it quits. She is leaving E! The Hollywood Reporter says the comedian plans to sign off at the end of the year when her contract expires. Her manager tells the magazine she has many offers and could end up on the radio. Hannah's late-night show, Chelsea Lately, has been on the air for the last 7 years.
The biblical story-turned-movie, Noah, topped box office sales on its opening weekend at almost $44 million. The teen fiction thriller Divergent came in second at $26 million, followed by children-friendly film Muppets Most Wanted, in third place at a little over $11 million.
And Disney's Frozen may be about a woman who can magically create snow and ice, but the film is red hot at the box office, becoming the highest grossing animated movie ever. Frozen opened in its final international market in Japan over the weekend, busting all records with over $1 billion worldwide. The movie came out of the US back in November and has soared ever since. It is the first billion-dollar film from Disney's animated studios.
Have you ever noticed when you take a selfie that your face can look a little different from what you see in a mirror? That's because when you take a selfie, the camera on your smartphone takes the pictures reversed. Depending on the app you use, your phone will snap your photo like you would appear in the mirror, or flip the image and snap the photo the way others see you. Experts say this is jarring for us because our faces are asymmetrical and we are not used to seeing ourselves this way. Our features don't line up like we are used to seeing them. A selfie is also taken at close range. This leads to some facial features, like your nose or chin, being distorted or exaggerated because it is too close to the camera. Non-selfie photos are more flattering because they flatten your face more when taken at a proper angle or distance. In light of studies like this, our own Dan Cook caught up with a few Montevallo students to ask what they thought about taking selfies. Take a look.
What is it that bothers you about a particular photo that makes you want to take another one to get it right?
As a photographer, I think the composition and the lighting is critical to taking a good picture of yourself or a good selfie.
Because if it's too low, the upper shot is not really that flattering, so it's always angles for me.
To a point, selfies can be more of like not like a cry out for attention, but to a point, yeah, sometimes people use that just to get attention. But I mean, for the most part, selfies are okay. There comes a point where you can have a little too many of them, but they're okay.
It's a way to boost your self-esteem, and when you have a good selfie, it makes you feel better about yourself because you get a lot of likes on it, or you just feel good about yourself because you look cute.
How many do you have to take before you're satisfied with something to go ahead and put online?
Well, I only really take selfies if I'm at like a scenic place, like if I'm on a boat and there's pretty sunset behind me, or on a mountain. It usually takes me about 3 or 4 times before I'm actually happy with my selfie.
I don't really do a lot of selfies, really at all, but usually maybe on the second or third photo, I'm happy with it.
All right, one last time, just for us here at Falcon Weekly, give us your best selfie pose. Awesome. Thanks, appreciate it.
Switching gears to weather, spring is finally here.
While it may mean warmer weather and beautiful flowers in some cities, it could mean allergies in others such as Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville tops the list for worst city for allergy sufferers, followed by Memphis, Tennessee. The Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America based its list on pollen levels, use of allergy medication, and the number of board-certified allergists in the area. Rounding out the top 5 are Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Oklahoma City, and Jacksonville, Mississippi. Experts say the blend of winter and spring weather may make allergies worse. Now it's time for a check of our Montevallo forecast.
Falcon Weekly's Irene Cardenas joins us with a look at this week's weather.
Thanks, guys. Now, I know not too many people were happy about the end of spring break this past weekend, but hopefully the warm weather will help power through these last few weeks of school. This week's weather is actually warmer than what it was during the break. Let's take a look. Starting tonight, we'll be hitting a high of 73 with a low of 46 with a 0% chance of rain. Tuesday, we'll see a partly cloudy day with a high of 77 and a low of 48 with a 0% chance of rain. Wednesday will be partly cloudy with a high of 78 and a low of 57 with a 10% chance of rain. Now Thursday is going to be cloudy with a high of 79, a low of 61, but there will be a 20% chance of rain. Friday we'll see some scattered thunderstorms with a high of 77 and a low of 51. Saturday will be partly cloudy with a high of 72 and a low of 49 with a 10% chance of rain. And Sunday's going to be rounding it up with a few showers with a high of 69 and a low of 48 with a 30% chance of rain. Now that's this week's forecast. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Irene. Every day, millions of newspapers are read and then disposed of. Many people are not aware of the hours that go into creating a high-quality newspaper, let alone the work that goes into UM's very own Alabamian. Falcon Weekly's Devin Cooley shows us a behind-the-scenes look at how the Alabamian is created.
The Alabamian is a student-driven newspaper featuring local news, reviews, how-tos, and much more. Students work hard to write, edit, and organize articles to publish a paper every 2 weeks. Reed Strength, the managing editor for the Alabamian, says that his favorite part of working for the paper is working with the staff.
I'd say my favorite thing is sort of being able to work with the staff on all of their story ideas and creating a paper that I think reflects several sort of point of views on campus, so not only do you have, your campus news and stuff, but you also have fun things like movie reviews or recipes or whatever, as well as important stuff that's coming.
Volunteer for one, just do one story, we'll have enough stories for our next archer.
Each edition of the paper takes about 12 students to create. Students work many hours to ensure that they produce a high-quality newspaper. Copy editor Joe Tutwiler says that the Alabamian's main purpose is
to inform and to entertain the students of Montevallo. We mainly try to focus on local things happening, campus events, stuff that's happening around here. We do have a small section for world news, but we're mainly a university-focused newspaper.
The staff meets here at the Student Publications Office, or Stud Pub as they like to call it, to have meetings and get the paper ready for publication. The Alabamian features articles from a variety of Montevallo students, and they welcome any student interested in print journalism to submit their own articles for publication. Though producing a great newspaper requires hard work, Reed Strength also says that the experience is well worth it.
The Alabamian, because not only am I expected as managing editor to meet certain goals and to make sure certain things are done, but just as a writer in general, you've got a weekly deadline, you've got you have to learn to manage your time, and so it's this constant pressure that I feel like not only sort of prepares you for the world, outside of these schools' borders, but also helps in, being able to work under pressure.
Reporting for Falcon Weekly, I'm Devin Cooley.
And then there were 4. The NCAA basketball tournament is close to crowning a winner.
Find out if any Cinderella teams are left dancing for the title. What else is happening in the sports world, Rio?
With college hoops coming to an end, Major League Baseball is just getting started. See how the Dodgers fared against the Padres. Also, LeBron James comes up big in the clutch for one of his biggest fans. Sports is next. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. I'm Rio Smith with a look at this week's sports. The biggest tournament in U.S. sports is headed to a close. A tournament that featured the most overtimes, close games, and upsets in recent memory comes down to 4 teams. Florida, the only #1 seed still in the hunt, will face off against underdog 7-seeded UConn, who beat the Gators earlier this season. The #2 seeded Wisconsin Badgers will square up against arguably the most talented 8 seed in history, Kentucky, who knocked off the 2 teams who played in the championship last year. The Final Four will be played on April 5th, and the winners will move on to the national championship game. And FYI, there are no perfect brackets in Quicken Loan's bracket challenge. In the midst of the chaos surrounding March Madness, Major League Baseball kicks off its 2014 season this weekend with the Los Angeles Dodgers defeating the Arizona Diamondbacks in a 2-game series. They then travel to San Diego to face the Padres on Sunday, so let's take it there. Dodgers ace starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw will be out. He'll be on a 15-day disabled list with a bad back. But the Dodgers got some pretty good pitching from Hyun-Jin Ryu. At one point, Ryu would strike out 16 straight batters. But the offense stalled after Carl Crawford's RBI, and in the bottom of the 8th, Dodgers closer Brian Wilson gives off this shot of Seth Smith, a solo home run to tie the game at 1. And then Wilson would give up another base hit to Chris DeNorfia, this one up center field that will bring 2 runners home. The Padres will go on to win 3-1. The rest of the MLB's clubs will play today. While the NBA's MVP vote may go to Kevin Durant this year, LeBron James will always be the MVP of a young high school star who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks collaborated to give 16-year-old Aubrey Nettles-Bay a day she would never forget. While Nettles-Bay thought she was only getting tickets to see the game played in Milwaukee, she was pleasantly surprised when she found out that she would be hanging out with her favorite player, LeBron James. She was front and center with the Miami Heat during warm-ups, showing off her moves in the layup line, and she even drained a couple of jumpers. The defending champion Miami Heat will go on to defeat the lowly Milwaukee Bucks, 88-67. For more campus sports news and all that other good stuff, be sure to check out Falcon Fever every Thursday evening. That's it for me. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Rio. A pizzeria in Vancouver has a topping you can only get with a prescription from your doctor: marijuana. The pizzeria Mega Ill bakes a pizza that can get you high. For an extra $10, they can infuse the food with the THC through an oil extraction process. They say the oil that is drizzled on the pizza is almost tasteless.
The people who run the Mega Ill say they only serve up slices to people who are over the age of 18 and have a prescription for medical marijuana. However, new regulations that go into effect on April 1st could force the making of such pies to go up in smoke. Final approval of this method is currently in legal limbo, but if the outcome of the case does ban marijuana-infused pizza, the owner of Mega Ill plans to take it off the menu to keep the business open. And that's all we have time for this week. For next week, thank you so much for joining us.
For more UM news, be sure to check out the Falcon News Network blog. The web address is on your screen. We'll see you again next week.